today's gardening episode. It is August, but we're in Wilmington, North Carolina, where we have a long, warm fall. And that means we can do round two of a lot of plants that we planted in the spring, including tomatoes. And so today, I want to show you that from seed, and I have a nice warm greenhouse, and from soil blocks, in 2 weeks, I have some perfect tomato starts, as well as these cool birdhouse gourds. But I have 3 different types of tomatoes that I planted a lot of seeds with, but I used something really cool. Seed blocking. If you guys follow Resh Gala, and if you guys follow Mindful Farmer, or my buddies Destin and Josh and Dez, soil blocking is really cool. In just a few weeks, I went from seeds to foot-tall cherry tomatoes, 10-inch tall brandywines, and 8-inch tall purple Cherokee starts because I did soil blocking. And check this out. What I love about them, and I'll zoom you here so you can see, is that they air prune themselves. What that means is when they hit the edge of the blocks, they stop and they spread and they focus on growing elsewhere. And that reinforces the structure of these soil blocks. And then when I go to transplant them, they're already removed. So all I have to do is pull that out and drop that into the soil, and it's ready to grow. The other awesome thing I love about soil blocking in this method is you just need a tray. I got these like literally left over at landscaping companies or at a gardening store, is that you can bottom water these just like this. And then whatever they don't take up evaporates, but you avoid getting the leaves wet. And you can actually get away with watering in the evening and such. I know it's not ideal, but you can leave them in the trays here and it'll just soak up over time. And the next day it'll evaporate. If you're curious on the soil medium I use, I did not make my own seed starting mix, although I can. I found a really good deal on my Pro Mix with the BX here. It just has mycorrhizae and it's really straightforward stuff because I have limited time. So shout out to Pro Mix. If you're interested in where to get one of these, shout out to the Mindful Farmer. He has this for sale. I'll put the link in the comments below. It's really fun and this will last you your whole life. It's galvanized steel. Just like anything great, if you take care of it, you'll have it your whole life. And today, I'm going to plant these because it's Labor Day weekend, an early Labor Day weekend, end of August, and I have all of September, I have all of October, where we'll get 70 plus temps, and half of November will be 70 plus temps before we get our first freeze. So that means, hopefully, with foot-tall plants, I'll have tomatoes for harvest. Let's go plant them, and I'll show you a really cool spot where I planted them because I'm on rotation with another plant to help put nutrients back into the soil for these tomatoes. Can you guess what it is? Check it out. All right, I hope this angle works for you guys, but I only have so much space in some of these raised beds, so if you're in the Wilmington area and you want some, hit me up in the comments. Happy to give you some cherries, pink brandywines, or purple Cherokee. But I'm just going to move a few of these out of the greenhouse for now that I think are the healthiest, and we're going to put them in the soil, and you won't believe how easy it is to transplant them. Ta-da! One. Let's take the biggest ones for now, and we'll take one of these. These are birdhouse gourds, so if you guys are familiar with those, they'll vine like crazy. I'm going to plant them in a fun spot. If you guys are following along in the new garden section of Phil's Figs, we're going to harvest these just in time for fall, and it'll be so cool. Let's get some pink brandywines out of here. This is a happy one. When I see 3 like this, I'm just going to snip the tops off. I'm not going to tease out the soil because I don't want to shock the transplant because I want it to encourage just growing. And you guys know tomatoes. We're going to bury them up to the first leaves here. I'll show you when we get there. And keep them in order. It's most important. Look at that. 2 of each, and then since pink brandywines get such large fruit on them that take a little longer, I'm going to do 3 of this one. Not all tomatoes are created equal. You can see I planted these all at the same time with slightly differentiated light. They grew at different rates. All right, let's go put these in the ground. Perfect. And I actually need to get a labeler. Always label if you can, but with tomatoes in my small space, we'll find out soon enough what it is. If you're looking for a good gardening pen, Sharpie's kind of a nice baseline to start, but when you really start getting into it and you want something that's good in rainfall events, I really like these Artline garden markers. I'll put a link to these in the description as well as the soil blocker. They just last longer. And then I always write love at the bottom of every single one of my plant labels to spread love into the soil. But it's so cool to know that you can plant fall tomatoes here in the Southeast, and I would even bet you could probably do it in the Southern Mid-Atlantic region too. Anywhere that has a nice long fall, even if you have colder to cooler springs, if you have a nice long fall, go ahead. Do a second round of tomatoes. You may really surprise yourself. I grew up in Pennsylvania where you had a nice long growing season throughout the summer. There was a little bit of a hot stretch. So when I moved down here to the South, I really had to get used to the fact that you could have a warm growing season on either side. So 2 warm growing seasons on top of a hot summer growing season. Pretty cool. And then you have this nice long fall where you can grow all these other crops as well. So just because it's a longer growing season doesn't mean you can grow all the same things all summer. You just have to switch it up and space it out over time, which I thought was really neat. All right, purple Cherokee, pink Brandywine, super sweet. Now, there's a specific reason why I chose this section of this raised bed here, and that is because I grew bush beans right in here. If anyone's curious, I grew them from seed, green blaze bush beans from Haas. I've been on the Haas's Seed of the Month Club. It's been really cool. It's not an affiliate or anything, but they basically give you seeds in the mail once a month. They figure out what to grow best for you in your location that time of year, and you go from there. And they every month, and it's been a great chance for me to grow things from seed, find out what grows well seasonally in my location, and then get great harvests on things that I've never grown before or things that I've tried and hasn't worked out well, and just to see positive results afterwards. But the reason I'm planting the tomatoes, and many of you might know this, where I put the green beans, is because the beans are nitrogen fixers. They don't use mycorrhizae, they use bacteria for their nutrient exchange from the soil. What that means is they're putting nitrogen into the soil, and where tomatoes will take that nitrogen out of the soil as well. And tomatoes work with, like other fruiting plants and nightshades, mycorrhizae, which is a fungus for their nutrient exchange with their root systems. But I think great evidence that there's a lot of nitrogen in this soil is this okra plant right here. That is 3 times the size of all my other okra. And here's the trick. It hasn't actually produced any flowers or okra stalks yet. And I think that's because it's overloaded with nitrogen. And so that's a good sign. There's plenty of nitrogen in the soil, which these tomatoes are going to love. The birdhouse gourd, we're putting in the ground over there. I'll show you in one sec. But it's taking up a lot of sunlight and it's not actually producing flowers. And as pretty as it is, oh, it might actually be beginning to produce. I'm going to cut it down because I have plenty of okra in all my other plants. Get that out of there. That thing is huge. And rather than stirring up the soil too much, it's a little dry. I'm just going to backfill where I pulled out. And remember, this is all green beans. So now we know that it's rich in nitrogen after a green bean summer. But I'm going to put probably 2-foot spacing between all of these plants because I want them to shrub out. And we'll go from there. I did have cucumbers over here in the backside. They didn't do too well because I got the vine borer, or I got the cucumber boring beetle. So we'll just make room for tomatoes. And what I do in a bed that's 2 feet by 10 feet, but 2 feet in width, is I do a little triangulation. And so that gives me room for 6 tomato plants. I know I have more, but I'll place them elsewhere. But this is important to show you guys where these triangles will allow them to grow out without being on top of each other. Tomato plants, we're going to dig down for. Starting with this pink Brandywine, I am just going to keep the strongest of the 3. And I'm just going to chop the tops off. These feathers are not necessarily where the roots will come out, but it will put out roots all the way up. So what we do with tomato plants is we like to bury them. Some say up to their necks. I'm going to go halfway since these are pretty long already. One pink Brandywine down. I'm okay planting it towards the edge of this because I can let it flow out of the raised bed. We'll put a second pink brandywine in this back corner here, because the brandywines are non-determinate and they're actually near the structure, so it'll let them grow up and wide. And the section where I need more vertical tomatoes, I'll actually get those cherries on that bandwagon, and they'll actually lean up against this trellis that I constructed for the cucumbers. But mind you, and this soil is pretty dry at this point, so one thing you want to do with tomatoes is consistent watering. I'm going to bury this up. I'm going to take these off. I can go all the way up to here on tomatoes, but really I'm okay going to here. They have a nice root system already established. Let's go ahead and fill that in. Pink brandywine, nothing like an heirloom variety. If anyone ever wants to try, you can actually take some of these stems and bury them extra deep. They may root for you, you get more tomato plants. So something to consider. I'm really maxed out on space. If you saw my okra from my other videos over here. And then I have basil that I just harvested, but it's all gonna come back. And then I actually have some squash varieties that I put underneath in succession planting. So again, I have my 2 brandywines, and in the middle, and in this corner, I'm gonna put my Cherokees, and then the spots that I need more vertical growth, I'm gonna put my cherries. I have so many to work with. I just want them to grow strong. And see how this one's actually pitched over? I'm actually gonna just put it on its side and let it grow vertically. Bury it extra deep, as you can with tomatoes. And the more roots they have, the stronger root structure it has, the healthier it can grow down the road. Again, purple Cherokee, pink brandywine, and these super sweet cherry tomatoes are all indeterminate. That means they will put out fruit and they will grow constantly. Where you have determinate varieties, like something like red snapper, where they will grow to a specific height, set fruit, and then they are done with their life cycle. Where these will continue to grow for you as they age, but they will still grow for you throughout the growing season. So let's put these cherry ones in. I'm gonna have 2. These grew wonderfully. I'm just gonna take off the smaller of the 2. Go ahead and bury them. I still have some like extra seedlings of these green beans, but just rotating the crops. So cool. And I'm really excited to be able to put these cherry tomatoes up against this trellis, because it'll help tremendously. And when you're planting tomatoes and you want to keep the center space open, their roots will spread elsewhere, even if they're bound up by one side. And I like to plant them on the outside of my raised beds, so I can sometimes make space for trees in the middle, or just having airflow in general. And this doesn't look like a whole lot of space, but this okra takes up a lot of afternoon sun, but these will grow and they'll fill all in here. So you really don't want to grow them too close together. In fact, this might be a little too close for comfort, and I could probably sneak something small in here if I wanted to, but that may actually be just fine. And it'll still keep the center open for good airflow to prevent disease. So I get it. It doesn't look like a lot, but less is more. And the big thing with tomatoes isn't watering them in bursts, it's watering them consistently. So waking up in the morning, watering them, and doing that every day, even sometimes with rainfall events, just consistent watering. Sometimes when they get deprived of water, they do different measures to keep themselves healthy. They may still get stressed, but then if you give them a flash flood of water, they'll actually take up too much, and especially when fruiting, that's when you see splitting and other sorts of stressors. So doing a yo-yo watering system can stress out your tomatoes, where if you just get them on a consistent basis, and for anyone in the South, when you get into the fall, when things get dry, just be cognizant of that. Even when they're mature tomato plants, make sure you're just watering them consistently. So this soil looks a little dry, so I'm gonna give it a nice healthy drink, especially since I just plopped them in here. Last but not least, I'm going to add some slow release organic fertilizer. This is a 533 that I just have. It's just going to jumpstart these tomatoes, and since it's a slow release, it'll last them for the next few weeks as they really get into their growth phase and then begin setting fruit. And I have found that fertilizer does go a long way, even if you have good compost. I did top dress this area about a month and a half ago when I still had the green beans, and it seemed to do well. I'm doing like a 1/4 cup per plant, but you can see I'm just kind of sprinkling along. And what this will actually do is I'll massage this in and then water it. If you use too much, you can burn the roots of this plant. So I kind of want to immerse it into the soil, and as it breaks down with the mycorrhizae that's in the soil, if you have healthy compost, that is what will actually feed the plants. So I got some nice fertilizer. I'm in a bed that used to be full of green beans, so it has put nitrogen in here as well. And that's it. Let's water them and keep them happy. Super sweet, purple Cherokee, pink Brandywine, 222, perfect. All right, be easy on the tomatoes when you go to water them. Because the soil is dry, I'm going extra deep. The consistency is key in the coming weeks with your tomato growth. Find the best time to do it for your location. You will notice in the fall you have less sunlight, which means less growing hours, right? For trees and plants to photosynthesize. So fertilization may play a bigger role than you think, especially when you just have less sunlight hours. Make it count. Hey guys, on top of figs, I grow everything else too, and I want to show you some tips and tricks that I use to grow a lot of the food that I like to eat and that I love. So I'm glad I get to share this with you. I'm glad I get to start doing this and expanding outside of figs into my other favorite garden varieties, and you get to see the other things that I grow with another piece of this channel. So if this was helpful for you, like, subscribe. If you have questions, reach out in the comments. I'm here to grow food with you. Cheers, fam.